Sonny Strait. I am known as the voice of Krillin on Dragon Ball Z. Yes. Woo, Krillin. Maze Hughes on Full Metal Alchemist. Always a bigger applause. Let's see, Usopp on One Piece. The original Toonami Tom for Cartoon Network. Yeah, really. I raised most of you punks. I was the first and almost second season of. He had the little pot belly with the atomic symbol on his gut. That was me. Yeah, back when you were babies. Hello, Winry. Hello, Ed. And let's see, what else have I done? Kyuzo on Samurai 7. Apachai on Kenichi. Probably. What else? Hey, welcome. Lupin the Third and all the Funimation movies. I was, lots of stuff. Explosion Man on Explosion Man video game. Have you seen that? Well, it's pretty cool. You should check it out. I just did a bunch of stuff for Borderlands 2. I'm also a cartoonist, and that's what this is about. I have probably about 20 books published. I was published as a cartoonist before I became a voice actor. Most well known for my work on a series called ElfQuest that came out of, yes, it's a great series. If you haven't seen ElfQuest, go to elfquest.com and check it out. They have the whole 30-year run there for free to read. It's a brilliant series created by Wendy and her husband Richard Peeney. And after I worked with them, I was published by Tokyo Pop. And that was with my own series, We Shadows. And I just got the rights back to We Shadows in October of last year. What's up, everybody? Yeah! Yeah! Okay, on three. 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Cool. So anyway, and I got the rights back and I put it online, and now it's at WeShadows.com. And the last 3 months, it's been in the top 10 webcomics. It was nominated by the American Library Association for Best Graphic Novel of 2008. And that's enough tooting of my horn there. So I want to ask you guys, is anyone in here who wants to be a cartoonist or a mangaka? 1, 2, 3. Now keep your hands up. How many of you have actually drawn any comic book pages? Oh, that's good. What cartoonist once told me like 20 years ago that you have, as a cartoonist, 200 horrible pages in your system. And you should get them out of your system as quick as possible. And for me, that was a very freeing concept because I was always afraid of the blank page. I was afraid of messing up the work, right? But when I knew that 200 pages are going to suck, then it freed me up. I said, okay, I'm supposed to mess up. That's what this is all about. That's how you learn, by messing up. And I was published before I finished those 200 pages. I was published around page 59. And as I kept getting closer to that 200, the publishers got bigger and bigger and bigger. But in my own personal opinion, it all sucked until like 400. But at least people were willing to publish it. I think I'm up to around 2,000 pages right now. Still sucks. So, do you guys have any questions? And I'll be happy to answer questions about voice acting too, even though this is a comic book panel. But if you have any questions about comics, voice acting, directing, I directed at Funimation for several years. I was also a writer for Funimation and wrote several of their shows. So I'll be happy to answer anything that runs the gambit of any of those questions. So, questions. Let's go with Princess here. Yeah, I have. I use Photoshop. Fought Photoshop tooth and nail. When I was Wendy Peeney's apprentice, I became her apprentice when I started working at ElfQuest, and she was working in Photoshop, and this was like 11 years ago. And I said, no, I like to get my hands dirty. I don't like to work in Photoshop. But I started using it to when I got published by Tokyo Pop, because I started drawing in a manga style. And manga styles require those screen tones, you know, those dot patterns that make grays. And I had a program called Computones that went right into Photoshop. So I started scanning in my pages and doing my stuff there, and then the more I did it, the more I learned about it, and now I can't live without Photoshop. So yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a great way to color. Now he's not back here, he ran off. Who's looking for him? Yeah, what's your question?
What advice do you have for people who want to become voice actors?
If you want to be a voice actor, raise your hand if you want to be a voice actor. Now keep your hands up if you've had any training at all. Okay, that leaves 2. All right, here's my advice for you. Get some kind of training. Because most of your competition have about 10 years of some kind of acting training. Whether it was in high school, college, community theater, any voice lessons, choir, those are good training areas, you know. So if you don't have any experience, get it. I know it sounds like anybody could do it, but when you get in the booth, it's a completely different story. Yeah, it's just talking, right? I was in New York one time, and I was on the subway with Chris Sabat, and this dude across from us was saying, "Hey man, what you guys doing in town? I can tell you from out of state." And I said, "Well, we're voice actors." He goes, "No, get out of town! What you do? What you do?" I said, "Well, we're on a show called Dragon Ball Z." He said, "Get the hell out of town! You're at Dragon Ball Z. That's awesome. That is sick. That is so sick." Will you play on that? And Chris said he was Vegeta and Piccolo, and I said Krillin. He goes, "No way! That is sick. That is so sick." And he said, "Hey, you should get me a job on your show." I said, "Are you a voice actor?" You know, because usually people with that strong of an accent don't usually become voice actors. And he goes, "No, man, I'm not a voice actor, but I could do that. I could totally do that." And I said, "Well, what do you do for a living?" He said, I program computers." And I said, "Oh, well, you need to get me a job." He goes, "Oh, you can program computers?" I said, "No, but I checked my email. I could do that." My point is, you need some kind of training, right? You know, you can't just go in there and expect to top the best voice actors in the country, you know? These people have training and experience, and they know what they're doing. Do we have any other questions? Yes?
As an artist, have you done work based on what other writers have done for you and written your own?
Yeah, I've done both. Well, when I worked for ElfQuest was a series that had come out, I mean, I was 14 years old when I read it. And so Wendy, when she hired me, she said, "I like to build stories around people's life lessons. So if you had some kind of life lesson of yours and that you think we could use," and I said, "Well, I learned a long time ago that just because everyone believes something to be true does not make it true." And so we developed our first story around that idea. And I came up with the plot for it, and then Wendy wrote the script, and then I illustrated it. And I've worked for my own stuff too. Like when I worked for Tokyo Pop, I wrote all the scripts there. And I had a partner when I first started doing comics. I moved to Denton, Texas to go to college to major in theater. And there was this guy named Billy Foster, and he was doing his own comics called The Sex Gophers from Hell. And the Sex Gophers were a rock and roll band. And it was a really funny comic, but it was really drawn very badly. So I drew a cover for him because I liked his comic so much, and he said, "Why don't you just draw the comic?" Well, I'd never drawn a comic before, but I thought it'd be fun. By the time I did 3 10-page mini comics, I was hooked. And so from then on, I was decided I was going to do comics. And when I finally got my first book published, I dropped out of college. And folks, I don't recommend that, but because it's always good to have something to fall back on. But yeah, once I did that, I got a taste of what it could be like to make a career of that. Yeah.
Yeah, what cartoon artists do you find inspiring? Like, you look at them like, oh God, he's incredible. His art is just...
Yes, which cartoonists I admire. You guys heard of a guy named Will Eisner?
Yeah.
Will Eisner, if you're a cartoonist in America, one of the best awards you can get is the Eisner Award. It's named after this man. He created a book called The Spirit, which became a horrible movie recently. But The Spirit was actually a 7-page comic book that was in the newspapers all over the country during the 40s and 50s. During the 40s and 50s, everyone in the country knew who The Spirit was. This was an independent publisher who did the best thing of any independent publisher ever. He got his comic book in the newspapers. And then after he quit, he started going to a convention back in 1970s and discovered, this is when he was 60 years old, and started seeing people wearing the Spirit t-shirts